Rahim, Assalamu alaikum viewers, and I welcome you to Insight with Javed Malik from the British Parliament here in London. As you know that we are doing programs focused on the issues facing our Muslim community here in Britain, also about the relations Pakistan has with the United Kingdom. As you know, it's a historic relationship. And today we are talking to Mr. Alan Duncan, Member of Parliament, who is of course the shadow leader of the House. He's had various portfolios in the shadow cabinet, and one of the important things that I should mention here is that he has strong connections with Pakistan, visited the country many times, and also recently met with the President. But prior to going into politics, he was also doing business in Pakistan, so somebody with a deep connection. I welcome you to the program. To start with, I'll talk about the Conservative Party, which is of course the party that you represent. Many Asian, Muslim and Pakistanis living in Britain have traditionally been supporting Labour. Why do you think that is the case, and what is the Conservative Party doing in order to reach out to the Asian community, or the Muslim community?
Them supporting Labour is that a wave of immigration meant that people who came in were not rich, and therefore they thought that Labour was more the party for the poor. They lived in urban centres, and urban people tend to vote Labour more than Conservative. But now, because they work hard and are getting richer and understand British politics more, I think it's fair to say, a lot more are voting Conservative. I mean, I have to say, I think it's a shame that so far we have not had a Muslim Conservative Member of Parliament. We've got Saeeda Wasi in the House of Lords, that's great, but in the House of Commons, elected, we haven't got one. But after the next election, I think we will, and about time too.
Right. Well, Labour, of course, has 4 members of Parliament, and one of the things that people look at, because of the various problems the government has been having, some say it's merely the fact that it's been very long since Labour has been in government, but people are, as you said, considering toward Conservative Party. What does the Conservative Party offer to the British Pakistanis or the British Asians?
The same as to everybody else, which I hope is going to be a better run country. I mean, I think that the crime, if you like, of the Labour government over the last 11 years is that it has increased the debt of the country and brought it to near bankruptcy. If we had 10 years of economic prosperity, we should have lots of money in the banks, and we should have big pensions and lots of savings and lower taxes and higher employment. But all of the opposite of those things is true. And I think that Pakistani origin British people are just as interested in prosperity and in their schools and in their hospitals and in their old age care as any other section of Britain.
You of course have a connection with Pakistan. You've been visiting, you've previously done business there. Historically, you know many people that have been in leadership roles in Pakistan. Pakistan is now moving towards democracy, well, has moved towards democracy, moving progressively towards making a stable, progressive and democratic Pakistan. How do you see this journey?
To be honest, I think it's very difficult. I do not see Pakistan as the sort of efficient, well-functioning democracy we'd like to see. I think there are a lot of tensions, there's a lot of difficulty, and there are great dangers of instability. And that, of course, means that there's even more significance to the link between Britain and Pakistan, because there are broader international security issues where we'd like to cooperate with Pakistan to make sure we can address those security issues. And those security issues sometimes are inside Britain.
But one of the issues that seems to be prevailing whenever we talk about Britain and Pakistan is the security issues, the extremism, the terrorism. It's of course very important to resolve that, but there are other issues too that relates to poverty alleviation, that relate to giving a stable environment to Pakistan for it to have a sort of a stable democracy. Britain, with its experience of a democratic country, can support Pakistan. Do you think the government is doing enough? And if you were in government, would you do more?
I think broadly our approach would remain similar to that of the Labour government. I mean, crucial, of course, to all of this is what's happening in Afghanistan next door. And the knock-on effects of conflict in Afghanistan, of course, affect Pakistan, and then can affect our own security in the United Kingdom. So we are, I think, deeply involved in Afghanistan and hence in Pakistan, and that will continue under a Conservative government. And I hope the experience we've got in the party, which is quite extensive, will appreciate the importance of Pakistan as a relationship with us on so many dimensions.
Experience. Now, one of the criticisms that comes towards your party is, and your leader sometimes, is the lack of experience. People view Gordon Brown, despite the problems that he's had, as somebody, an old hand, if you were somebody with experience, whereas your leader seems to be viewed as a new kid on the block. How do you sort of respond to that?
Well, at the beginning of a political career, you're younger than at the end of it. And you may well say that Gordon Brown is a man of experience. Well, frankly, it's an experience that is not very attractive to many people. I think that his prime experience has been in the domestic sector, only in the Treasury. I mean, he has only ever been Chancellor of the Exchequer and Prime Minister. And as Chancellor of the Exchequer, you know, our Finance Minister, he made a mess of it. And until he became Prime Minister, he'd never really done abroad. You know, he had no experience in foreign affairs. And I think, you know, particularly with what's been going on in Iraq and Afghanistan, and potentially with the Middle East peace process, he's faced a very, very steep learning curve.
Right. You talked about foreign affairs. Now, foreign affairs is something that concerns many people, not just in Britain, but also around the world. And Britain sometimes is viewed as being very closely allied with the US when it comes to the war on terror, whether it comes to Afghanistan, or when it comes to Iraq, or Kashmir, or other issues that are outstanding. Britain seems to be following what the US does. Many people expect Britain to take its own independent stand. Why does that not happen?
I agree we should be prepared to make a stand if it's right. I also think, though, that to have Britain working with the United States is a fantastic alliance for the good of the world. I mean, I think it is also true to say that, yes, when George Bush was there, we looked too slavish. And I think that that has come at a price for us. And I think that we're going to have to continue to do hard work to recover from the loss of global reputation. But I think that Iraq is settling down. I think what we're doing in Afghanistan is right. And I hope that after President Obama's fantastic Cairo speech, we can play our part in a revived Middle East peace process.
Right. One of the important things that is something that is important internationally is the relationship with the Muslim world and Britain, and the West in general, but particularly with Britain. Britain has a lot of experience. You know, if you go back into history, some may say more than the US in dealing with some of the Muslim countries in bilateral relations, as well as the way they have been governed. Do you think you can play the role of somebody who is a mediator, somebody who can sort of encourage dialogue rather than the clash that sometimes is inevitable?
Yes, and I think all the more so now that we've got a new American president. I mean, I think that President Obama, starting to take such a serious interest in wanting to see a peace accord between Palestine and Israel, is doing it at the beginning of his presidency. And that gives us all great cause for hope, I think. So I think that if you have the British experience and American power and the intelligence of Barack Obama, the ingredients are there, I think, for a new period of optimism, and we've got to make it happen, yeah.
So what would change with the Conservative government internationally if there was, because what I hear from you is something, it's quite similar. A similar policy will carry on. People expect change. Barack Obama, you keep mentioning, became elected because he spoke about change. What change will the Conservative Party bring to British politics?
I think that 11 years of Labour have created difficulty for Britain's reputation abroad.